Hello everyone. Our last RV adventure of 2023 was to Mystic, Connecticut. When we first planned this trip, we debated driving the route versus taking the Cross Sound ferry. However, since this was our last trip for the year, we didn't want to sit in New York traffic again. To cross over the Throgs Neck and George Washington bridges on a Friday, that's no good. We've done our fair share of that already, and since there was an alternative, we took it. Google Maps clocked the trip at about 3 hours. We were traveling from our home to Orient Point, New York, crossing over the Sound to the New London Ferry, and then finally reaching our RV park at Mystic KOA. And to be honest, another reason why we chose to take the ferry is because it would be Itty Bitty's first boat ride. Here are some of the things we learned for our first ferry trip with our RV. Book in advance. Visit the LongIslandFerry.com website and book your trip in advance. Make sure that you have your rig's measurements ready. The website recommends that all RVs arrive at least 30 minutes early. This is probably because they want to know what kind of space they need to allocate for rigs and trucks and stuff like that. Once you have parked in your spot on the ferry, you'll want to make sure that your parking brake is on, that all lights are off, and that you have disconnected your 7-way. You don't want to come back to a vehicle or rig that has no battery. Our last recommendation is to enjoy the ride. We were fortunate enough to have beautiful weather that day, so we sat topside and enjoyed the trip to New London. The saying goes, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Not really the case with RV parks. This was our first day at a KOA, and we have to admit, this was the nicest park we've stayed at all this year. Lots of amenities, clean and well-maintained, and an overall very pleasant experience. This park was about a 10-minute drive from Mystic Seaport and the Mystic Diner, which made us very happy. In 1963, a businessman named Martin Olson purchased a land called Perkins Farm and intended to convert it into a shopping mall. However, he was advised that the local population wouldn't be enough to support it. In 1972, his children Jerry and Joyce Olson decided to build a village influenced by international design with a less corporate feel. While Old Mistick Village is a popular tourist attraction, the vendors we met also expressed their appreciation for the support provided by the local community. If you visit, you'll find a very unique collection of shops and eateries, so bring your appetite and a shopping bag to carry all of your new souvenirs. Founded in 1929, Mystic Seaport Museum is the nation's leading maritime museum. Its mission is to inspire an enduring connection to the American maritime experience. The museum has grown to become a national center for research and education as it continues to gather and preserve the rapidly disappearing artifacts of America's seafaring past. Covering 19 acres on the Mystic River, the museum grounds include a recreated New England coastal village, a working shipyard, formal exhibit halls, and state-of-the-art artifact storage facilities. It is home to more than 500 historic watercraft. Carrie and I boarded the Charles W. Morgan, an 1841 whale ship, which is America's oldest commercial ship still in existence. We were able to go below deck, and it was fascinating to see how the sailors of this vessel lived and worked. In this current age of technology, we sometimes forget that our ancestors made do without smartphones or Wi-Fi. They lived a hard life and worked in conditions that we couldn't even imagine. Visiting Mistick reminded us of that and how industrious and resilient America's sailors were in the past. Seeing these sailing vessels up close was awesome, but it made us wonder, how did they actually build these ships? For example, there's a vast amount of rope needed to make a functional ship. The museum had a great display explaining how exactly rope was made back then. When I googled how much rope is used on ships like we saw in Mystic, I learned that it varies depending on the size of the vessel, how many sails it has, and what purposes were being served. There was also a shipyard blacksmith that explained how metal items were constructed, such as nails used for building, anchors, and harpoons. This shop was actually producing metal products to be used for the restoration projects in the museum's shipyard. Since the museum's fleet is ever growing, there is no shortage of work for this blacksmith. In addition to seeing all the ships, the Mystic Seaport Museum has various exhibitions and displays that illustrate how things were created and done back then. We were fortunate enough to get a private display of how printing was accomplished in ye olden days.
So we're going to load the paper and put it into the make ready. This is also referred to as a tympan frisket. So the tympan is this part which has all the shimming in it. The frisket aligns the paper, holds it in place like that. Then we take some ink with the brayer and we're going to transfer the ink onto the type. I'm going to do this just a couple of times right now because this is its first inking. Next, we're going to put the paper to bed by rolling the bed under the platen. When I pull on the tail, the platen lowers down and that puts between 800 and 1,000 pounds of force down. Or squish.
And it takes nothing at all.
Not with this press. And that gives us our finished impression. And if I have to make 100, I have to do that 99 more times. One at a time. We call them impressions because the type presses into the paper. That's how you can tell if something is hand set and printed on a letterpress. And a printer always makes a good impression because you can't sell the bad ones, only the good ones. So a printer always makes a good impression. I'm here till Thursday. Try the veal.
Our stay in Mystic was a lot of fun, but we also knew that it was time to winterize Itty Bitty and get her ready for the winter. As we began our trip back home, we couldn't help but reminisce about the year we've had. Since we first started RVing last February, we stayed at 5 state campgrounds, 2 universities, 1 Harvest Host, and 1 KOA. We've gone to some beautiful places, met some wonderful people, and shared our new love of RV life and camping with our family. We are looking forward to sharing more of our adventures with you in 2024. We have some pretty cool stuff planned, and that we'd love to share with you. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and we'll see you soon.